Okay, so I've got the shell of the building there. Oh, thanks, Alma. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and you can see there, the most important thing is that you have the 4 main walls, the outer 4 walls of the building. And then, just to help you understand it, you should also have the piers, these projecting walls on the outside. And you'll see in a second why. So I'm going to go back to my ground floor floor plan with the AutoCAD drawing inserted, so the one I've called ground floor DWG, so I know it's got the AutoCAD file. And then on the architecture tab you've got the grid tool. So have you used grids before? Grid, it's up there in the top right. Grid, yeah. So if you haven't used grids before, grids in architecture, interior design and related fields are generally used for columns. That's why you have grids, to set out your structural column grid. So with the grid tool, I'm going to go to, firstly just see what my numbers are. We're going to do it upside down this time, so I'll just go with that. Okay, so I've got the option there to use pick lines. So instead of drawing lines, I'm going to use pick lines, and then just pick my AutoCAD line work. And I'm just going to go with where the bubbles turn up. So the bubbles here are at the bottom. Often you want the bubbles at the top, just so you know what a bubble... Do you know what a bubble is? Bubble's just the circle with the number that comes up. So I'm just picking each of the grid lines from AutoCAD, and you can see there it's putting the bubbles on for me automatically. So there we are. So 10 grids, and you can see how quickly you can get that done if you're lucky enough to have an AutoCAD file that already has the grid drawn. So again, if you missed it, all I did was click on the grid button on the architecture tab up there, and then pick lines. And again, then you can pick the lines from your AutoCAD file. But it's really important, if you want to follow it the way I'm doing it, you pick the vertical ones first in the order. So this is grid 1 to 10 because of the order that I picked them. And now yeah, that's right, they should be upside down because we rotated the AutoCAD file, remember? So that's normal. It's okay. Yep, we're going to do the grids in a different order, if that's okay. Yeah, oh, left to right. So yeah, so you want the grids oriented the way your plan is. So yeah, it should be. That's right. That's the AutoCAD one. And when you pick, so mine are like that too. See how here underneath it does say 10. But then when I put the Revit one over the top, it'll be 1. So you just have pick lines. You've got to use the grid tool, and then you go to pick lines. So click the grid button, and then choose pick lines. And then just pick those grid lines. So you then just pick each of the grid lines. Yeah. And then you'll see the numbers go over the top just like mine. Yep. Yep. So there should be 10 of them. Yep. Now left to right, the way you read, and then top to bottom, the way you read. Yeah, but when you do the horizontal ones, start at the top, and then before you pick the next one, make sure you change that to an A, and then when you pick the next one, it'll be a B, and then you can just keep picking them like that and get letters down the side. Okay. So that way I've got A to H running down the side. And if you want to see the bubbles the same size as the AutoCAD drawing, you could try changing the scale to 1 to 50. And you're going to see then that they are exactly the same size. Just the scale. So you can switch the scale any time. So if you want to see the grid bubbles change in size, you can change the scale to 1 to 50. and then they'll be the same size as the AutoCAD file. Yeah, if they're hard to read, then go back to 1 to 100. That's fine. Okay, so I've got my grids there, and then you'll see how easy it is to put columns over that grid. Yep. So you click on the down arrow there and make sure you've got structural columns. So under column, you go to structural column, and then load family. Get the one over, didn't you? Yep. That's right, exactly. Yep. So you go to structural column, and then you'll have to, go to load family. Up the top. Yep. And then browse onto the P drive. Onto the P drive. So at the top where you've got look in, then you go to student resources. Yep. And then you'll see Revit library. Now, do you want to know how to make a shortcut if you don't have a shortcut? Yep, that's right. Yep, so actually, not Revit library, sorry. For this one, you need to go to the subject folder. So 3D and digital presentations. Yep, and then, so 3D and digital presentations should be the first folder in interior design. And then Mary Street, Surrey Hills. And then Revit families. And then you'll see timber square column with capital. Okay, so double click on that. Then, before you place it, you've got to change some options. So the most important one is that you change the depth option there on the options bar to high. And then leave the level next to that on level 1. Just make sure it says level 1. And then don't click to place it, just go to at grids up on the options bar, on the ribbon. Yep. And then just make a window like this. Well, not quite. So it's got to be, you start inside that top right quadrant, and then you go down to the left, so you're inside the bottom left quadrant. So what you're doing there is you're picking all the inside grid lines, but you're not getting the edges. Right, so you don't, in other words, you don't want number 1 or number 10 or 8, letter A or letter H. So you can see how, because I started here and then went down to the left on the inside, it misses those outer grids. Let go, and you're going to see a nice preview of the column sitting exactly on each intersection. You can zoom in to check it, and if you're happy with that, up the top, tick finish. That's right. Exactly. You do need to delete them, but remember, you need to think about the design, so your 5 stairs might not be there. If you're going to put them somewhere else, you can do that. And then you would have columns there. So, so just have a think about that. I'm going to leave mine there, and then I'll decide later, because I'm going to show you some different options for 5 stairs. And then as I do my 5 stairs, I'll probably delete the extra columns when I do that. So I'm happy to leave them as they are. And then if you go to a 3D view, it's a nice thing to check. You can see there all those columns in exactly the right spot. And just to show you how the grid works, right, so say this was a real project and later we might have needed to move one of the grids. No problem. It takes the columns with it. That's a great thing. Oh, I'm going to show you that next. Yeah. Okay, so before we repeat them, you've got the right idea, because that's exactly what we're going to repeat them. But first, I'm just going to get my section and make it a bit longer so that I can see, the section line crossing the wall on each end, and I might just tidy it up as I go so it's a bit neater. And while I'm there, I'm also going to fix this elevation. You can see there that is inside the building, so let's move it outside so that it's looking from the outside. And then I'm also going to click on this arrowhead and make sure that line that shows where it cuts is also outside the building. Okay, so if you haven't looked at where the elevations are placed, you can check that at this point. And then now I want to put in the correct height for these columns. And actually I'm just going to have to open up a file to remember that, because it's been a little while. Oh yeah, well I'll show you how you should do it. I'll just explain what I'm doing. So what I want to do now is take some measurements. So your best friend when you're taking measurements from an AutoCAD file is AutoCAD. Just have AutoCAD open while you're using Revit. If you've been given a stack of AutoCAD drawings, it's the easiest way to measure. Because I see people printing them out and then scaling off the printout and then getting the measurements wrong. And if you've got the AutoCAD file, you may as well use it. And you can of course insert them into Revit, but if it's just to take measurements, it's easier just to do it in AutoCAD. And it's good practice to keep using AutoCAD. If you're not doing that already, I just have AutoCAD. Most of the time when I'm using Revit, I'll have AutoCAD open as well. So I'll just give this a second, and then I can get all of the measurements from the section. So there's my section. Okay, so what I want to know is how far it is from the top of my column to the floor above. And it's actually quite a distance, so it's 570 from the top of the column to the next level. So what we do, back into Revit, to select, I just double clicked on that file and you'll see this happen as well. So it's opened up the column family and I don't want that. So if that happens and you don't want it, all you need to do usually is close it here with the cross. But I'll just show you a better way. On the file menu, you can choose close, and that just makes sure it closes all the views. And if it asks you, do you want to save changes? What do you think you'd say there? No, of course. Yep, no. I did it by mistake, so I don't want to save any changes. Okay, so what I wanted to show you instead is how to select all of these columns. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you missed that, sorry, that's good to notice. Yeah. So I've just opened up the only section that I've got. Well, you should have one already. So if you don't, though, yeah, make it. But try and use the section that you have from the beginning. And here's another view with the same section. I'm just showing you so I can keep cleaning them up. Okay, so yeah, you can make your own section, but if you have one there already, use that. Okay, so does anyone know the trick to select all the columns? That's the easy way. You can do it manually, and it would work in the plan, but I'm going to show you a good trick. If you want to select, you can use, later you can use arrays, but for now, the easy way, if you want to select every copy of one object, you just right click on that thing, and then you go to select all instances in entire project. That selects all the columns, whether I can see them or not. Yeah, well that's just how they are in the building, but yeah, I made that. So it's an easy family. Yeah, just a family. Yeah. Okay, so what I did is I put in a property to let that capital move down when you change the height. So how much do we need to move it down? Do you remember? In that section, the measurement I just took. Okay, so it was 570. Right, so I want to move the top down 570, so that's in the properties, the top offset. So we select all the columns, so remember you right click on one, right click, select all instances. Yep, in the entire project. Yep, that's it. And then go into properties, and you'll see top offset, and make that minus 570. And then apply. minus 570. 570 mil. So nearly half a metre. Right, because we've got the floor, we've got floor joists, and then we've got these big beams that sit on top of the columns. So the top needs to come down all that way. Right, so that's the first part, but don't deselect them. Make sure they're still selected, so they should all be blue to go to do the next part. Top offset, so that means they're not selected. So just right click, yeah, and then select all instances again in entire project, and then you'll get the top offset. Yeah, minus 570. Okay, so once you've done that, then just click copy to clipboard. So in the clipboard panel, you're going to see the paste button should be greyed out, but you click on the copy to clipboard button next to that. So just below the scissors, you'll see the 2 pages. That's copy to clipboard. So here, copy to clipboard, this button up here. Yep, click on that. Then, under paste, click on the down arrow. Right, so click that down arrow and then choose aligned to selected levels. And then click and drag on all the levels from level 1 to level 6. And that's it, and then click OK. And it's going to copy all the columns for the whole building. Ah, now it's missed one. Yeah, now it's actually done in duplicate on the last level. We'll fix that. So level 5 to level 6, yeah, this is where it gets a bit confusing because, so I'm just going to check something. So let's just check this. It might have duplicated the bottom. Let's just see. Or it's duplicated the top. It's one or the other. Yeah, it's duplicated the bottom. Okay, so I'll undo that and I'll show you, so you can undo that as well. Okay, so here, what's happened, it's counting from the top level, not from the bottom. So I'll just undo and I'll repeat that and I'll show you how to fix it. So again, select all instances in entire project and again, copy to clipboard and this time paste align to selected levels and I'm going to choose from level 2 to 2 to 6 and then hold down control and choose roof. So instead of doing 1 to 6, it should be 2 to 6 and then hold down control and do roof. You go align to selected levels? Yeah. 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 So you've got to undo. If you've done it before, undo that and then redo it. Yeah. But if your columns are upside down, you've got to go back and fix that because that's the wrong way. You've got your columns upside down. You didn't choose the depth. So you've got to change the depth option to height when you first place them. Now you can fix it in a minute. I'll have to come over and I'll show you how to fix it. So I'll do that in a minute. Okay, so here I'll just do this. So again, levels 2 to 6 and then roof should work. Well, that means they shouldn't overlap if you get it like that. If you do 2 to 6 and then roof, it should work. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We haven't put the floor yet. Yeah, so I'll do that next. So then I'm going to fix up the settings. Now notice how when you place the columns like that, it picks the settings from the original level and they're not quite right. They come down a bit as well at the bottom. So then to fix them all, again, right click, select all instances in entire project. The top offset should still be minus 570, so you can leave that, but check it. And then the base offset, you can just type in there 0. And that'll fix all the bottoms up. Yep. So now you can see they all have the same height relative to the level. So that's done all the columns. But if we look at now in this 3D view, it's a bit difficult to look at because we've just got a lot of columns and there's no floor separating them. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
So this column that is it made how much for one component or is this separate?
What do you mean separate?
Like, you know, like a group, is it only one group?
It's a family. Yeah, it's different to a group, but it's similar idea. Yeah, groups in Revit are a bit of a different thing. So here's a group tool which does something different.
So
It's a family.
in our assignment, we get rid of some of these ones.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Oh, of course. You can just delete them. They're separate objects. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 That's right. Yeah, they're all separate. Yeah. And that's the advantage with families. They're better than groups in many ways. Yeah. So, okay. So what I might do quickly then, just to make it easier to work with, we'll fix this a little bit more later, but just to get you going, then I'm going to put in a floor. So I'm going to use the floor tool, and then anyone who's had issues, I'll come back to that as well. So I'm going to use the floor tool on the ground floor floor plan. So if anyone missed it, again, floor, and if you did choose an option, it's floor architectural, and you can then use, with the same default pick walls option, use those 4 main external walls. Just leave it on the generic 150mm floor for now. We're going to change that later. And do you know what to say when you see this message? If it asks you about joining geometry and cutting overlapping volume, that option there, there's only one choice there. Always say yes. If it asks about attaching, then you've got to think about it. But if you see this question, don't even think about it. Just always say yes. Trust me, it's always better to say yes for this one. For the other one, you have to think about it. But this one, yeah, just try to remember when you see that, especially that join term. If it ever asks you about joining, it's helping you out. Right? It's a good thing to join things. So just say yes, and it saves you doing it later. Okay, so then to see how the next step's going to work, and this is where I'll finish the video and I'll do another one in a minute. Okay, so this floor is on ground floor. So I'm going to, again, just like you did with the columns, copy to clipboard, then paste, align to selected levels, and here I will choose levels 1 to 6, and then OK. And this time it'll work properly. A bit different to the way the columns worked, but similar idea. And now I've got floors then sitting under each of the columns. And in the 3D view, not that one, sorry, in this one. There we are, it's a bit easier to look at with a floor as the base for your columns. Yeah, that's right, there should be, because we need to add in the beams and the joists that go under the floor. Sorry? Yes, yeah, 1 to 6, exactly, spot on, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right, the ceiling, if you're going to have a ceiling, it would sit at the top of the column. But I'm not going to have a ceiling, I'm going to have a, well, I'm not going to make a separate ceiling, so I'm going to have the floor joists and then the beams sitting under the floor, all exposed. So that's why I'm leaving the gap. But that's how it is in real life. So if you were to put a ceiling in, the ceiling would come down here. And that's definitely an option. We'll talk to you about fire rating to separate the floors maybe later. But yeah, that's not a bad option to have a lined ceiling. So I thought maybe I'll just show you an optional step, but one that might be handy before I finish the video. Have you done section boxes before? You've done section box? Oh, good. Okay, so if you know about it, that's good. Okay, so in the view properties, you'll see that option section box. Tick it, and you get a box that goes around the building, and then you can stretch with the arrows to cut inside the building, and there we go. So that's handy for working on interiors, so that you can see inside again. Oh, and sorry, I just hid that very quickly, so I'll just do that more slowly. So again, if you want to hide your section box, right click while it's selected, and you can go to hide in view elements. And then, just to make that view have a name, I'm going to right click and go to rename and call it 3D section box. There we go. We'll take that much further later, but that's enough for now. So I'll finish the video there, and then we'll look at the windows and the beams after.